There are video games on this elementary school papier-mâché multicolored rock called Earth we all live on that build an obsessive mentality unseen by many other interests. The levels obviously vary, but for most fans of video games, it's not common for one to be passionate enough to release a game, adding on to a franchise, expanding it in some way, or trying their best to remake a certain title. And today, I wanted to look at a few of those times this play has been made. Like, we've all played Call of Duty Zombies, right? Whether it's going for high rounds or being sprawled out on a couch with a feeling similar to how EDP 445 would have felt if he got his cupcake. It's an addicting time, but there are moments I'd like to play it on the go, on a flight, in the bathroom, wherever, as do many others. Having Bathtub Zombie Power Hour would be an unparalleled 45 minutes, soaking in bacterial water, eyes attached to the screen, hoping not to sneeze and drop it in the tub. Who wouldn't want an outer body experience of this capacity? Well, technically we can have it if you own Black Ops 1 on the DS. It's just bad because it's on a DS. For a while, it was only a dream to have real zombies on a handheld, and this is where the folks over at NZP come in. The streets wanted to help society by giving them an opportunity to play zombies on PSP. When you visit the legendary itch.io, or itch.io as some of our fellow cave people say, you install the computer game and enter yourself into what I thought was just World at War, kind of, that is pixelated and choppier, but apparently there's a bit more to it in the content department, primarily with the maps. Of course, we have Noct, also known as the father of zombies. Who on this planet doesn't know the vibe of undergoing the four-roomed, dilapidated concrete shack in the middle of nowhere, having the living dead ready to pounce on you, tearing what is left of your character's sanity apart? It's an immersive little shit, having you feel like nothing more than a little bitch trying to use any social media with grift after grift after grift tossed right into your face until you power yourself up with a new gun from the mystery box. The gameplay for this map on NZP feels as authentic as it can be to the World at War experience, just a bit more hairy since it does look like someone sneezed on the screen because PSP. Outside of the father of zombies, we are given some other original maps and also user-created maps to help add on to the community feeling. But not only this, NZP also has the DS Zombies maps. Classics like House and Temple are here. These are maps gamers everywhere have wanted to swallow in their full glory since the days of Knights and Kings, where if you cough around your lord, the entirety of your body will get sliced up like a carrot by monarchy bootlickers. So sticking these maps in here is a great addition if I say so myself. If you're wondering about the weapons contained within all of these maps, they're of course from the World at War litter, and when it comes to the wonder weapons, I didn't see any others aside from the Wunderwaffe. Surely the ray gun is in there too, but there's no way any more exist. I couldn't imagine the overall weapon count being too high. We can't have a plethora of weapons adjacent to a mythical armory. This is supposed to be played on a PSP after all. If you want the game to run without your little handheld catching fire, spinning its gears in overdrive, you gotta limit it in some places. And if you haven't been able to Scooby-Doo sleuth it yet, I am playing NZP on PC, so that fear of handheld combustion wouldn't be a worry for me if it did exist. Sony's glorious black rectangle treasure has evaded my presence for quite some time now. Still, it doesn't mean I didn't want to have the most authentic experience possible, and my best way of having mouth-to-mouth was giving it a go on PPSSPP, a PSP emulator, where the game runs a lot smoother than you'd think. However, it does control like an absolute atrocity since the PSP doesn't have two analog sticks, forcing you to aim with the face buttons, birthing the new terminology of being a beast on the buttons rather than the sticks. Trying to adapt to riding this horse was a difficult escapade as I was traversing through the halls of my new favorite map, dung Threon, stomping my boots through brown mystery goop. But even with the control frustrations I was having, it's honestly worth trying to live the life of a stick figure with your character's frail ass, no milk drinking bones, killing zombies. This is far superior to zombies on DS and even COD Mobile zombies. I just wish there was more to delve into, since the enjoyment I got from this was more than it probably should have been, and I hardly had any frustrations aside from like how the knifing is kinda glitchy, just like World at War. The zombies have some dystopian passive ability of having a black hole special move whenever you melee them, so it's not even worth trying unless the kill is guaranteed. Also, the zombies' pathing is questionable. I had a few moments where the zombies would form a Congo line, getting stuck on the wall. None of this is too shocking, obviously. We're not playing a retail game. There's going to be a few crusty, dusty issues such as that, but regardless of the ones I experienced or may not have experienced, it doesn't take away from how NZP is a game made by the people for the people. If you own a PSP, or I guess even a 3DS, PS Vita, or Switch, wheeling this bad boy over there is not a terrible idea. Whenever I decide to make a content creator house, the way you will be able to get your ticket to entering that said body odor bonanza is you'll need to own a handheld console so you can go for high round attempts on NZP as you soak in your own rot. The map you choose doesn't even matter. You can play one of the maps that comes with the install, you could download another one a player made, or even make your own, because the amount of options you have is insurmountable, similar to custom zombies in Black Ops 3. What a zombies game we have here. To quote various releases from the 80s with people who were too lazy to proofread their own game before release, congratulations, you are winner for creating this project. These are the types of people you bring with you to war. You know they're going to provide quality support. However, if you want to Lego speed build an army, we need more quality. Say, individuals who can deliver a solid remake, giving us a foundation to plant our knees on to shoot our muskets at the redcoats. Who are those said people? The creators of Mortal Kombat 2 Remix, a modernized version of Mortal Kombat 2. Back in the days of lovable legal pocket or wallet robberies, the world had sickening AI that blatantly cheated on cooldown, where people pretend it's a fantastic time by spewing unseen levels of damage control, when in reality it was a fucking vomit-inducing predatory business practice only second to supply drops that plagued Mortal Kombat 2 and all the fighters that surrounded it. The only real enjoyment that comes out of this game, if I'm not playing with another person, is viewing the aesthetic. I don't know what it is, but Mortal Kombat 2 has this Looney Tunes bright colorful ass ring to it that I wish Mortal Kombat 3 also shared. It's an unexplainable presentation that I love about this game. Unfortunately, the establishment didn't want to continue in that direction, so it got left in the dust. Thankfully though, there were some super fans who loved this game enough to do their best souping that bad boy up, enhancing it with the testosterone and D-ball life expectancy chopper stack, bringing it back to the masses. When you turn this bad Larry on, we of course have the original cast of characters alongside the secret ones, Jade, Smoke, and Noob, all having unique special moves rather than being clones of other characters on the roster, adding a new layer to what you know and presumably love. What the purist crowd probably wouldn't love, though, is how there are combos stuck in the game. Original Mortal Kombat 2 was before the times of traditional combos being implemented, making it more of a methodical game with how it's designed. So there are most likely people out there who do not like this. For me, I don't mind it. I don't think they're enough to take you out of the MK2 vibe. Each character only has a handful of them, one or two additional special moves, and a new fatality that do look great, by the way. I had a solid time playing through the arcade, practicing with the characters, getting a bit of combo action. Since you can actually learn the game while playing the arcade, a much appreciated dinner if I say so myself. Typically, when you spawn into the arcade, you feel as if you're on an endless trek, sprinting away from the Imperial Guards trying to take you to jail for stealing an apple off a shelf. So it was nice to get a toe dipper, then enter the big leagues, finding secret battles against classic characters like the legendary sentient WWE Championship belt himself, Hornbuckle, or as others call him, Liu Kang with booger pants. It's nice we can finally have this uninvited geek rolling up to scrap rather than fighting Gasoline and Matchman in an eternal scuffle in the background. To my understanding, there are more hidden fighters. This knucklehead was the only one I discovered, which is nice. Having an extra layer to the game is never a bad thing. Even if you're the largest purist in the world, it's hard to not at least appreciate the work that went into this. All the backgrounds and overall effects are fantastic. The new fatalities look as if they belong. The gameplay is incredibly fluid, and it's like NetherRealm plopped their hog on the table to bring us a remake of Mortal Kombat 2, a move I'm still surprised they've never done for real. Leave it to the mere villagers to do the work for them, I guess. Or let them insert their own ingredient to the Mortal Kombat stew, like bringing the famous Mortal Kombat Armageddon to 2D. The entry that is supposed liquid gold from the hidden corners of the Iron Age is now ready to fly off the ripcord, tornadoing onto forums everywhere in a new form. All the characters are included, the models and backgrounds once again look great for the most part, and best of all, we don't have that bitch-made create a fatality hogwash, oddly making the game a bit better, thanks to the fatalities being individualized. There isn't much more to say aside from how someone just delivered us raw dog, piped up 2D Armageddon action that will have you transcend into another plane of existence. It's genuinely a playable 1:30 a.m. shower thought where you're pondering on questions like, what if Mortal Kombat Deception was 2D, or what if Mortal Kombat 3 was 3D, extending to levels of God knows what. Players are always formulating hypotheticals about games, such as wondering how much blubber could you reverse liposuck into a roster? Does a Mortal Kombat game really need 200 to 300 characters? There are souls out there who believe so, and create these more often than not disasters of video games. Surely we all know at this point, these wonderful visual gemstones dunked into the faces of humanity are made with the big timer engine that goes by plenty of different names. Mugen, 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 Mugen. If you look at the icon, it's just regardless of what you're calling it these days, you're always performing a roll of the dice for what kind of game you're about to play. On one hand, you could be getting a Mortal Kombat 2 remix, or maybe a Mortal Kombat New Era that does have buckets of characters to try, and is surprisingly functional for the amount you have at your disposal. Or you could find crap like this that hardly functions and has unmedicated, consistent seizures. Also, having AI that is as challenging as not vomiting while standing in a neckbeard nest, making the original arcade titles look like a walk in the park when trying to play normally. A perfect example is when I was struggling against Cyborg Smoke MK3. Poor Acid MK1 wasn't cutting the mustard, so I was forced to call out the demonic Chester Cheetah spawn, having his Caillou level meltdowns with the forearm, trying to whack that bitch into next week. And this tactic isn't even foolproof against normal enemies low on the ladder. The AI is so fucking disgusting in this game, even when you're playing like a jackass, you can hardly move half the time. It's seriously a steep challenge not many individuals out there are going to bite into. When you see the legendary hard 21474836110, who is going to face tank that? Unless they want to uncover the secrets not many know about Mortal Kombat. As I grinded on my arcade ladder on the forbidden difficulty setting, I found out Shao Kahn has a black silhouette doppelganger named Tom, who unfortunately wasn't ready for battle against me. He seemed to forget what he was supposed to be doing partway through our battle and just stood there staring at Shrek. I will say, as atrocious as some of these games can be, I do think that is part of the fun. Not all of them are going to be the most kick-ass, top-of-the-line, Versace handbag video games, having you feel like a go-getter animal. There are a lot of these that are straight up terrible, but you'll undoubtedly get entertainment from the glitches you will witness. And when it comes to the higher quality ones, you're gonna have a great time with them because the game actually functions properly. I'd say my favorite thing to do with these Mugen games is having the AI go against each other, gambling for some drug money. We need more of this. If I open a casino, this is what I'm using. Mugen sludge battles in the trenches. Bet on a fighter, and the loser needs to go on a 30-day Soylent diet, and if they don't die, they win. Also, within this said gambling palace, I would be highlighting some more Mortal Kombat projects that aren't traditional fighters. One thing that pisses me off about Ed Boon and his cronies at NetherRealm is the reluctancy to expand the Mortal Kombat universe by making different styles of games. Put another Mortal Kombat Shaolin monks into the world or something. I don't understand why this is an impossibility. Apparently it is though, for whatever reason. So performing this action is yet another task in the gaming lexicon we need to leave up to the people creating stuff like Mortal Kombat Outworld Assassins. This is a little game created on the Open Boar engine, an engine specializing in 2D side-scroller development, meaning Mortal Kombat Outworld Assassins is a side-scrolling beat-em-up. A simple yet refreshing way to see our favorite Crayola crayon characters do their dues on the field of battle, and I know you may be wondering before we get into it, is this better than Mortal Kombat Mythologies and Special Forces? Well, at this point in technology and gaming, you could quite literally put your breast milk into a mason jar to create a better game than those, so yes, it is. When you are delving into a Mortal Kombat beat-em-up, you know exactly what you're expecting. Gallons of blood and death, and of course, this does have plenty of blood and death indeed. Enemies always explode into a mound of cherry Kool-Aid upon pounding on them with your hands and feet. If that's not enough, you can pick weapons up off of the ground to rack up a few decapitations as you traverse some recognizable environments, pulling off a few special moves, obliterating various peons that step up to whichever member of the gang you chose to play as: Sub-Zero, Scorpion, Reptile, or Noob. Why are these guys teaming together, you ask? Well, the Grand Master is telling us how we need to find the Rune Stone Amulet. Kenshi stole it, I guess. Once we reach the guy, he gets absolutely decimated by my flurry of punches hot off the press. It turns out he doesn't have the amulet. Kenshi impales himself, and the sociopaths we are playing as don't care whatsoever. But the drama doesn't stop there. Oh no, Mortal Kombat 2 Sub-Zero has been decapitated. No, what happens here, says the Four Stooges. Hundreds of murders later, I'm waiting for you, great warriors. You. Why did you do it? Don't ask me, but your master, and now I will kill you too. Words said to a group that can respawn infinitely, possessing powers you could only dream of, and one of our people quite literally can do what you do, but better. I was using Sub-Zero here so I could style on this snow cone properly by creating an ice clone while performing a backflip, kicking her head clean off her shoulders, sending this bitch into an early retirement. If it wasn't apparent enough, the story is not very good. Presumably, this whole game was only made by one person, maybe a few others, so obviously no one is going to be playing this for the story. It's simply here to be here. You're playing this more for the ride, and Outworld Assassins will honestly give you an hour or so of solid enjoyment. To my knowledge, this is the only 2D Mortal Kombat beat-em-up that exists. And no, I don't count Mythologies. So if you are a big fan of these things, it's definitely worth a go. What I find hilarious about all this is that a game made by a small group of people at most is better than a lot of beat-em-up games throughout history. I would actually play this over 99% of the 2D slop that released in the 90s. I'm not gonna say Outworld Assassins is the best beat-em-up I've ever played, because that might go to another fan-made title called Marvel Infinity Infinity War. It's another game made in the open bore engine, and this thing is a spectacle of under-the-belt residue in beat-em-up form. What we have here is a game that has 98 playable characters, I think making it the largest beat-em-up roster of all time. I highly doubt there's one that even comes close. Each of the characters you can play as have great-looking models, animations, effects, and unique special moves between each other. I know, I can't believe it myself. Wow, a beat 'em up with actual variety. After you play filth like Batman Return of the Joker, then come over here and play a game like this, it feels alien, like I'm doing something I'm not supposed to do, waiting for a sudden strike from chiropractor MD L. Lead Pipo to readjust my spinal cord. But no, this is real life. And on top of the main game that was created here that does have its own unique story, there's also a few of the older Marvel beat-em-up titles packed within that you can play through with whatever character you want. We have Spider-Man Maximum Carnage, one of my favorite beat-em-ups from this era, a few of the X-Men games, Punisher, and they even put Streets of Rage 2 in here as well. I can't believe I've never heard of this until now. I seriously don't think you would ever need to play another title in this genre again. With the sheer amount of content at your disposal, having hardly any bugs or glitches, what's the point? And if none of that was good enough, Infinity War, as with Mortal Kombat Outworld Assassins, are 4-player compatible games, which makes it even better if you have the people who will choose to come over to your castle to play this game with you. It's hours of entertainment rolled into one tight package. As much as I wish I could be Alexander the Great, reporting back with my tales of dominating entire civilizations, games of this genre typically don't have a lot to say about them, and it's more visual Houdini work. At this point, I do believe this speaks for itself. We can all see the quality, we can all see the power, which I'm sure would still somehow not be enough for some people. There's too many characters, or they don't like the aesthetic, whatever jargon is spewed out of their labia oris. So all you can do at that point is take them out back to the shed, strap in hand, put it up to the back of their thick skull, and show them a remake of Streets of Rage 1. This is another game I am beyond surprised has never been fully done over. This has to be one of the most legendary beat-em-up titles ever made, really. Streets of Rage 2 is the entry in this series that brings my pecker up to the heavens, but the first title is still a solid whirl, and if you're gonna go down the remake path, you might as well start where it all began. The creator of this remake stuck all the starting characters from the first 3 games in here, allowing you to go through the first game's story as whoever you please, with a few new areas stuck in here as well. At least I think so. I could be wrong. Like this fire area, I don't recognize this. Now, surely that could spawn plenty of
Actually, this area appeared in a European version of the game that only released deep within the ancient sanctums of locale-specific synagogues that you could only acquire after speaking to a minister about gemstones held by mythological figures.
I don't know, I'm just trying to enjoy the slightly enhanced version of Streets of Rage 1. Of course, it's not the most unbelievable graphical monster of all time. Still, it does look better than the original, having a new overhead map look before levels. We got a store that I'm not sure what is contained within. You need to finish the game to unlock it. Blood is also included, so if you happen to be a young sailor who wanted blood to come out when you try gutting an enemy with a shank, you are now able to witness the infamous red juice. All in all, if you want a solid remake turning the first Streets of Rage into Streets of Rage 1 Plus, essentially, playing this is the real move. It makes the original completely irrelevant, and I will never ever waste a second of my life playing the actual thing ever again. No amount of money will make me do it, which is a victory royale when your goal is to remake a game, a conquest that is a bit tougher than people understand. Not all remakes are going to dominate, fan-made or not. A quick example is this Castlevania 1 remake I wanted to give a spin, and it's definitely not a computer game I would willingly go out of my way to play. Maybe if there was an angry tribe that was upset with me for stealing their mammoth meat, and the only way to satiate their anger, preventing them from casting an evil spell on me, was to play through this whole thing, then I'd consider it. Other than that, I'm good. I guess it goes to show you there are serious levels to this shit if you didn't realize that. Regardless, you can still applaud the effort no matter the quality. Everyone starts somewhere, but the fact some of these passionate people are able to create a game that contends with actual retail releases, faithfully remake a game, or add their own entry to a dormant series is nothing to scoff at. Leading us to the spiritual sequel of the hour, Twisted Metal 5, a fan-made fifth entry to the automobile destruction franchise. There are people out in the universe who have been fiending for another one of these. It's been almost 14 years since the last video game installment, so naturally, the cult following would be frothing at the mouth, tightening up their belt buckles, preparing for a new one. A move that will probably never be made officially, so it's all in the hands of the fans to bring it to our planet. This Twisted Metal 5 game has been in development for a few years now, and it did start off using a lot of AI, a beyond contentious point in this generation, usually segregating people into one of two groups. One side are goblins who have no idea what they are watching is an AI-generated YouTube short, with the others being people who will demonize you, hoping the entire lineage of your family gets slaughtered by rabies-infested goats for simply using it or consuming it at all, period. Needless to say, the opinions are different for everyone. Now, I am not going to try morally grandstanding on a person for using it to help them create a one-man project. What I will do, however, is commend Angel, the creator, for eventually hiring an artist to replace the AI junk character art in menus, as well as replace the AI voices they once had to real voice actors. It's a commendable feat not many would do, especially considering how the game is non-profit. With that being said, looking past the pink elephant, the core game itself that has been created here is honestly a great experience, I can't even lie. If you have played Twisted Metal before, you know what's gonna happen. If not, simply put, it's about a bunch of hooligans that enter a contest competing for the ultimate prize of getting a single wish granted, with the gameplay loop of going through levels, driving around, peeling up pavement, using a variety of characters equipped with unique special weapons, and acquire pickups laid on the battlefield to kill each other. It's seriously a sadist's wet dream, sending different walks of life straight to the underworld, sitting in the driver's seat of a four-wheeled machine, or maybe even standing on the platform of a two-wheeled machine. We've all seen the Big A Stacks trapped in his whirly-gig, yelling at the top of his lungs to emit a shockwave, sending local contestants into a haze of confusion and death. Easily one of the most unique designs to come out of this series. Then, of course, how could we have a Twisted Metal game without Sweet Tooth? A character that has transcended the series itself, becoming a Sony mascot of sorts. This psychopathic ice cream truck driving, wheelin' dealin' son of a gun is what helped Twisted Metal be known as the clown game with cars, or that flaming clown game. I will say though, I didn't enjoy my time using his bitch ass. The special attack he is given is a pink testicle that doesn't do much of anything. It just sticks onto the target and pushes them around a little bit. As the mascot of the series, you'd expect the guy to be Dan Bilzerian in the off hours when he's done paying Instagram baddies to hang out with him, decimating a whole kingdom by himself, performing the infamous play of sneaking roids across the border by sticking them inside of a rubber, then inserting the hidden package in his poop chute. No, unfortunately, Sweet Tea can't do that. But his dad can. Yes, Papa Wheelie is here. The Twisted Metal 2 final boss, treating an entire city like a pinball machine, knocking your character around all over the place. This guy is the sub-boss of Twisted Metal 5. Initially, you'd think he's the big kahuna. How could you not? The truck is the size of a goddamn building. But once you defeat him, you find out it's a ruse and get told you need to battle a, quote, metal beast, having the famous upper body build of torso equals cut bionicle line of toy with tank treads for legs. Your goal is to clobber this goofball once and for all, a quest that does take a bit of time. Warpath is a tanky slob that has a second phase, forcing you to fight his pants that are just as tanky as his ultimate form for some reason. Upon sending this guy to the scrapyard, making that whole health bar vanish, you get your ending, meeting Calypso with his Steven Seagal-ass Crypt Keeper fingers. I love how an entity can own a whole tournament, being a demigod of sorts, yet he can't dish out the 2 bones to get nail clippers. These endings, in typical Twisted Metal fashion, takes the wish of whoever your chosen character was, twisting it around to screw them over, usually resulting in a knee slapper or death. Then you continue going on this hamster wheel, playing through the game with every other character on the roster that is a lot larger than you'd initially believe. You have the starting characters, then ones you are required to find codes for and put them in on the character selection screen, and finally others you need to discover icons for that are hidden throughout a couple of the levels, with some being pretty well hidden, so you need to test things out and snoop through the nooks and crannies to find them all. This is real talk, akin to what goes down in an actual entry of the Twisted Metal series, as with the feeling of the core gameplay itself. It's incredibly fluid and snappy, which is the best way to play games of this nature, especially when factoring in the mentality of wanting to hone up your skills, attempting to become a world champion, winning 50 stacks at the events that don't take place. You need the sharpness of a blade, swiftness of your average Joe on amphetamine, and the power of a 250 milliliter shot of Tren straight into your ass vat to perform up to snuff. If your brain isn't wired like that, then you will watch all of the individuals who embody the endurance of Boog the Bear blaze past you in the video game equivalent to life. But if you don't happen to care about that, there's still enjoyment by simply sitting back on a chair after scouring through the cabinets for sugar-filled snacks. The varying gameplay styles here is definitely enough to keep a player interested. You will get a few hours of entertainment from this thing. If you're trying to get all the unlockables, complete the story with every character, discover every secret, you'll have a solid 5 to 6 hours of raw gaming time. And if you're playing on hard mode, you could double or triple that. So I guess it really depends on how you feel about murdering people inside of vehicles. If this is screaming sauce to you, hopping on the saddle is worth it. But if the mere thought of killing another driver makes you sick, well boy, does Sonic have news for you. Welcoming you on a path of having boots on the ground, pulverizing your friends, giving them a fat hospital bill. A trudge that I once again unexpectedly went on. First with Sonic the Fighters, a game that was kinda ass honestly, and now with Sonic Smackdown, a title that is almost impossible to ignore. I wasn't entirely sure what to expect with this one before playing it, but whatever or wherever those expectations may have been, they were blown out of the water. It was a pleasant surprise with how fluid this entire game felt. The whole visual aesthetic package filled every Sonic hole you could ask for. Do you know how many people are getting half-chubbed minimum from this right now? Myself included. When I was seeing Blaze the Cat's smooth ass playing like Akuma from Street Fighter, it was truly a sight to behold. Also, being the series I'm assuming they got the inspiration for this entire game from. A few of these animals play similarly to characters from Street Fighter, and what a monumental moment this is. Rather than trying to mod your favorite furry friend into Street Fighter, just play this. The core is almost the same, with each of the fighters having a high level of care and detail put into them, equipped with special moves, supers, and various setups, equating to a solid level of depth for a fighter that costs 0 doll hairs. Out of the fighting games we've talked about today, this one might actually take the cake for being the #1 kingpin. Yeah, the Mortal Kombat muggins are obviously second to none. Who could ever top a game where you can play as 15 different versions of Sub-Zero? To be real though, these are simply attempting to emulate what Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 did back in 1995 more often than not, just using a larger roster and adding ridiculous characters to make the players slap their knee a bit. Again, not to say they aren't fun, I'd rather play a lot of these over the official titles from the Mortal Kombat arcade era. They're just nothing compared to when people make a series enter a whole new territory of gameplay gameplay. Bringing a franchise to an almost untraversed realm is one of the beauties that can come out of a fan project, and in the case of this one, our young Chungus eyes have hardly ever been able to see combat of this magnitude in the Sonicverse, other than reading messages contained within a Sonic vs. the World forum, or going back to play Sonic the Fighters from the 90s. So summoning a Sonic fighting title from the depths of the Earth's core is a welcomed addition to the gaming space. I highly doubt Sega would be interested in making anything similar to what you're looking at right now. This is most likely the best we will ever have when it comes to scrapping with Sonic characters, and I'm hoping in the future more characters or stages are added if this project is still ongoing with new updates. Maybe if we could add a new hedgehog in there, like my good old buddy Prego Shino Potter, the Rebel Hedgehog, busting moves not many hedgehogs or even humans have seen. You may be wondering, upon seeing this glory, what could possibly make this beast fit into the universe of Sonic SmackDown? Well, he has the ability where his legs become pencils once he enters the purgatory of the Sonicverse, with a life goal of collecting worms with his mouth. His whole existence is walking around aimlessly, searching for bubbling sand to hunt for prey and feed it to an Eggman that is doing his best to grow into a big boy. That right there is how you know you found a fighter with survival skills and an iron mental. These shenanigans are all part of a fantasy land known to us mortals as Sonic Dreams Collection, a strange game with a little narrative behind it. According to the story, Dreams Collection is an amalgamation of 4 Sonic games that were being developed by the fictional MJ Studio for Dreamcast. They ended up never being finished, but a villager found this demo build on eBay, then released it for the world to see. Game number 1 in the collection is Make My Sonic, where you can build a deformed monstrosity of a creature with randomly generated names. I didn't create the name Prego Shino Potter the Rebel Hedgehog. It's only one on the list of many other gems. Game number 2 is tied in with Make My Sonic, called Eggman Origin, which is set up to be an MMO of sorts that also requires some hoop jumping to play it. Initially, you aren't able to enter this alternate reality due to you not having the ability to upload your disaster to the Sega channel, so you need to go into the game's folder, open the Sega channel file, where you enter login details. The username is MJ Studio, and the password is an Xbox 360 generated ass gamertag, white glove, spelled like this. You then go back into Make My Sonic, upload the mess of a character to the Sega channel, and now you are allowed to enter the Forbidden Realm. Honestly, this is a pretty neat thing to do. Is it worth going through the trouble? I mean, it's hard to say. It could be, if you're interested in talking to the wise egg, who will tell you, treat a baby egg good and you might get a reward. I have no idea what this means. I was too busy being disgusted at watching a Sonic adjacent creature feeding the big doc, so trying to solve riddles is not up my alley right now. I'd love to know who came up with this and why. Is it supposed to be how the world was created? I don't get it. There's nothing else to do in Eggman Origin, at least from my findings, aside from repeatedly grabbing worms, feeding them to Eggman until he turns into a full unit who summons an entire structure from the ground with his mind, giving you the objective of walking your little legs up his tower. When you reach him, Egg Boy eats you to make your character ascend, at least according to God in the sky here. The number of ascensions does track, so maybe you'll get a whole new layer of lore building if you do it a certain amount of times. I only performed my obligation twice, with nothing coming from it. I couldn't spend too much time here because there are far worse problems transpiring in the Dreams Collection for me to continuously ascend to wherever we're ascending to. Game number 3 is called Sonic Movie Maker, that truly starts highlighting how surreal this all is, if that wasn't shoved down your throat already. It's a game having you traverse through various sets, playing as an unnamed cameraman, trying to record vines using whatever is given to you. It starts slightly normal. We got a little Sonic that can't stop fidgeting around. You got a car, a football. I don't really know what the fuck you're expecting anyone to make out of this. You only have 6 seconds to work with. So my S-tier creation was having Sonic sit on the car, he rolls off to get his favorite ball, Purple Sonic then gets into a predicament with more balls, I love my dad, words spoken while glitching inside of a fence. After that, we're tossed straight into prom night with big ol' Sonic wrestling under the covers with Rouge, or he should be under the covers. Not many perform this action on the floor of a place where other people are supposed to be. And of course, Sonic needs to top it all off, spewing out his unparalleled ejaculatory quote, "This rules." I wonder if that same emotion of "this rules" was expressed when multiple people joined. Maybe that's why Purple Sonic and Rouge were roughing it up on the floor, to save energy for later on in the night when the entire squadron was all oiled up ready to rumble. Just plop a passed out drunk Tails in there and you're good to go. This throwdown was apparently so good, the theater sold out. It's nice to know after 35 years, Sonic's 13-inch destroyer can still satisfy anyone, anywhere. And with that bombastic night coming to a close, we now enter post-dirty action, with Sonic being a hungry boy, thinking he's fucking Ryback with the feed me more shit. No ruffles though. All he gets is whatever this ring pull-down system will give me. You continue to feed him until his gut becomes too much to handle, find a way to make a 6-second movie out of the situation. The one I made had a great twist ending, according to the 3 people who watched it. Was it really a great twist? I'd say the fact that Sonic is now pregnant might be a bigger one. It's not easy being pregnant, says the Hedgehog. And since I'm not a doctor, instead of using my university knowledge, I just dropped a few bowling balls onto his stomach, then out comes Tails. My favorite part of this scenario, we'll call it, is when you take a bowling ball and smash it through a window, you see a little Chow standing on the lip of the building, ready to jump off. Why can we not have more Sonic titles containing action and drama to this capacity? This game has it all. After creating shameless Oscar bait, we stumble into yet another new area that is questionable at first. You seem to be walking through a meat tunnel of some kind. Then you fall out of it and discover what you were actually doing. I really don't know what to say about that, aside from it takes a village, with all of our friends burning to death underneath the banner. I was not kidding about how surreal this all is. Most, if not everyone, would be more than appalled upon playing through Sonic Movie Maker, but thankfully, the fun doesn't stop there. Here we have the 4th and final game, My Roommate Sonic, a VR experience. It starts off with you sitting on a couch watching a television with a hedgehog on it, sitting next to your boy. Egg starts hitting up the ancient technology. Have you told your roommate how you feel about them? I say no. Seize life. Hold up one sec. The guy then turns into a piece of my apartment's window blinds. Just follow my lead. Give him the tickles. Shoe torn off. Sonic has human feet for some reason. The blue blur blushes and comes towards you, eyes turning into sunny side up eggs. A vortex is opened, swallowing the whole world. A new human is born, starts running, transmogs into Sonic. That's life. The only real problem I have with this entire Dreams Collection thing, and Sonic Smackdown actually, is that both are missing one important factor to the Sonicverse. These two are so close to covering it all. Smackdown highlights a variety of characters from the games. Dreams Collection is showing how humans are made, alongside plenty of adult pencil in the hole tension, but they're not giving us the evil. Where is the man's man, Sonic.exe? The googly-eyed monster that is synonymous with the blue blur, at least if you were in the battlegrounds of 2010 creepypastas. It seriously cannot be understated how much of a ripple this dumbass story created in the multiverse of internet campfire stories. A simple legend of a player getting a game from his friend, receiving an all-timer note reading, "Tom, I can't take it anymore. I had to get rid of this thing somehow before it was too late, and I was hoping you'd do it for me. I can't do it. He's after me. And if you don't destroy this CD, he'll come after you too. He's too fast for me. Please, Tom, destroy this godforsaken disc before he comes after you too. It's too late for me. Destroy the disc, and you'll destroy him. But do it quick, otherwise he'll catch you. Don't even play the game. It's what he wants. Just destroy it. Please. Looking back, it's unfathomable levels of cringe that people were genuinely scared of this or thought it was real, but they did, mainly because of this screenshot. The existence of this made people believe the Sonic.exe tale was a real story. It's all players had to go off of until Mist Crimson released a game visually retelling the grandiose existence of Sonic's evil persona in the form of a walking simulator, having you play as Tails, Knuckles, and Dr. Robotnik, watching them die one by one from the recycling bin's Lord and Savior, all culminating to a screamer that I use loosely. In the version of Sonic EXE that I played, it was Sonic if he was mixed with a rat in hyper-realistic fashion. Then I was shown a wall of text written in Japanese, so I used Google Translate on my phone for the most accurate reading experience. According to this, it says, "There is a way to free ourselves, a spell to get our souls again, but we must speak, and when we speak, there is no sound. We are all deaf, so failure is inevitable, and I regret ever getting into my inner bet. With the devil inside me, Immortality versus Soul Snatcher, Jake Shanley versus Gary Crook, ambition is overrated." What a fucking story. Somehow, someway, this exact methodology of gameplay storytelling was reused for so many other EXE titles out there for quite a while, to the point EXE games became a meme. Another all-time treasure is Sally.exe, of course containing more treadmill action with a few spices tossed in, like when we play as Cream the Rabbit, watching her get speedballed down the lane, zooming her way into a bed of spikes, exploding into a pile of gore. What did this poor rabbit do to deserve this treatment? The 6-minute in-depth narrative's finale is watching Sally get fried by Sonic, with a screamer entering the fray shortly after. These things are undoubtedly stupid, but also hilarious to look at. They're a time capsule for what was going down in the early 2010s. Sonic EXE spawned an entire lineage of games that people were going mental with, creating a sub-series to Sonic, like Insanity.exe with multiple parts, fucking Liadio EXE. I have no idea what a Liadio is. However, the game contains pretty riveting dialogue, such as, "Sonic? Hello, Tails. I came for meat. You want to die, or do you want to live? I want to make me alive. Meet me by far unknown. And if you do not get what you mean, muerte is. I will look good. Agreement? Jill of luck if you do not have death acquisition." A normal conversation we've surely all had. The only difference here is how we get to live out a dream of running away from Sonic EXE in checkerboard land. It makes me sick how much nostalgia oozes out of EXE releases. There's a special charm to them, being related to Sonic or not. They're mindlessly entertaining, even if they're blatantly terrible. It's not to say every single one is trash, because as time passed, players started ramping up the quality to create some more intricate games, like Sonic ERR or Sonic EYX, that are stylized in a far superior way to really drive the creepypasta point home, aiding in building a world that some players are unironically interested in, which I guess is the point of all these fan games, honestly. Commemorating a franchise, helping to flesh out their respective communities more, or re-spark intrigue at the very least. The people who are creating these games are genuine fans of Sonic, Mortal Kombat, Twisted Metal, or whatever other series you want to toss in there. Fan video games stem to plenty of other franchises that I didn't even touch on, like Doom 2D is a really good one. It turns Doom into a 2D side-scroller that seriously gets challenging as you get further into it. And not to mention the plethora of Doom mods that turn Doom into a completely different game in some cases, like Simon's Destiny, remaking the entirety of the first Castlevania in a first-person view. This is the kind of passion we need in this world. I'll have a link to all of the ones I played in the description if you want to try them out for yourself, and if you have more out there that you know of, make sure to leave them in the comments to give them some awareness. Big ups to our channel members who go above and beyond, generously supporting the channel further. If you want to join them, hit the join button right next to the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, take very good care of yourselves, and I hope to see you all again in the next video.